are a master. No guns, let God be war and blast ya. No need for times, we got the feds. Rituals make them roll down the steps like the Aztec heads.
Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Islam, Islam, Islam. We are here for 30 minutes more or less. Welcome, truth seekers of our illustrious Moorish American community and those awakening to the true essence of your birthrights, nationality, and history to our study session. We're going to get rid of the Sabbath part because it's just, I'll get into that. Anyway, today we're going to cover contracts. Right? I won't belabor the point because I'm well aware that as Moors, even non-Moors, even as non-Moors, once you've reached a certain level of maturity, you know how to operate within contracts. But silly me, as you know, we're always learning, we're always growing. I find that no, age does not equal maturity, and we'll get into that. But before we begin, a quick announcement. Please don't forget, Sacrifice Week 2024. Califa Media is giving away free copies of the Divine and National Constitution when you donate to receive the Sisters Auxiliary Guidebook and or either of the Eunice pens available exclusively from CalifaMedia.com. These copies of the Constitution are 8.5 by 11, printed on durable cardstock and suitable for framing with two options. You either get the prophet in a suit or the prophet in garb. And then once you make that choice, you can get it either gold tinted paper or ivory tinted paper. All right. And as well, always 20% of all proceeds collected at CalifaMedia.com are donated to Mercy Charities, a Moorish run charity. Now let's begin. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, or at least I'm going to try not to spend too much time on this. All right, so how it all started. I figured the most expedient way to do it is just to bring the receipts and leave them there for, public inspection, right? So it started, I'm going to read the email that started, or Instagram direct message that started it all. This is from, I guess it's Omnipotent Bay, all right? And it says Ashy. I guess that's Ashay. Anyway, it says, greetings of peace. I was referred to your Moorish charity by Jamal Talib Abdullah Bey and his family, as my spouse is one of the Moors that was with Jamal through his most recent ordeal on July 3rd. This is from 2022. Yes, this started in 2022. I forgot to mention that. He is Jamil Rasul Bey, and he is the last Moor in captivity at Middlesex Jail and House of Corrections. He was trying to sit out the detention by standing firm on the 5 points of light, but is not being acknowledged for it by the courts. He has been offered a $5,040 bail that we are trying to post before the weekend. So far, So far, 1,500, okay, blah, 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 has been raised with blah, blah, blah left to go. The fundraising momentum seems to be slowing down a bit, and we are just not so sure how long it will take. However, if there is any possibility that these funds available to assist, there are funds available to assist, please let us know. Feel free to learn more about him at the latest article. I never clicked it. I forgot to include, since I'm not sure if you have standards by which you grant from your charity, this was not a grant, that he has 4 children. All right. And then high five. Those are not prayer hands. Those are high five hands. But anyway, the response from myself was, peace. Our fund is currently tied up and awaiting return from the other Moors we have assisted with ransom. Like she said, he was the last one. So at this time, we have very little to offer. We will, however, explore all our options to see what, if anything, can be provided and get back to you. Okay. And then it went on, and I went back to our so-called board. This was in 2022, and I say so-called for a reason that I will expand on in a moment. Right. So she got back to me and said that there were 753 remaining, and I'm like, cool. Check your email, right? In the email were all the stipulations. This is not a gift. This is a susu, wherein even though you haven't contributed a penny to this susu that I'm aware of because I keep the books, sure, because of your situation and because we thought y'all were some sincere Moors doing something to, uplift and benefit the nation. Sure. So he doesn't have to wait the whole weekend out. Here you go. This is not a gift. It was very clear in the email. I might post it up here if I feel like doing that extra cut and paste. But anyway, right? So that's how this all started. And before we get into it a little further, right? Let me just give a quick, no. I'm going to do it. Let me get into my background. For those who don't know, I am a trained paralegal with more experience than I want. Before I went into my paralegal studies, I worked for 4 years in contract administration and rehab contract administration for a Fortune 500 property management corporation. All right. So, yeah. And that's after I got that job after finishing my double major in education and history. I got a job in contracting because I let the people know it's passing. Yeah, my mom was a government contractor for 18 years, and all I ever heard growing up was her coming home complaining in great detail about the parts of her job she didn't like, and it stuck. Procurement, solicitation, all that good stuff. So they were like, yeah, you hired. So yeah, that's me. I don't know who this guy is because, his works don't speak very loudly. Maybe I just haven't seen them, But anyway, as I go through the following emails, I ask the interested to please consider what they know about all involved and what they have done to benefit the nation. Islam. All right, here's the email that prompted me to create this video that I guess I threatened to publish a year ago, but I'm like, it's not worth the trouble. And I'm guessing these people got enough to deal with. And here come dude poking the tiger, poking the tiger. So here we go, right? Yeah, I had to go splash some cold water on my face, to deal with the fury of having to read something. Just this, you'll get it. You'll see why. Okay. So it starts. It was received on Thursday, March 7, 2024 at 2:26 p.m. from 6IX Bay or blah, blah, blah. Greetings of peace. Any further communications in regards to the agreement negotiated by my consort, Ashley Lukemi Bey, on behalf of myself, Jamil Rasul Bey, for the said amount of 753 USD notes for ransom bail is to be addressed to me for moving forward. Yeah, I'm gonna get into this. As my consort was acting on my behalf due to the unfortunate circumstance which led to our relationship with Mercy Charities, Communications regarding the said amount of 753 USD notes can be addressed to me from here on out, as I have taken over this responsibility. I intend to honor such responsibilities. All righteous Moors are to strive to remain in honor. Strive don't mean they do it. Despite the ignorance displayed and violations committed by Mercy's so-called Susu member, Tajida L. Genius. As all are to strive, blah, blah, blah. Let me see. As all industrious Moors are to know, there are no so-called debts in existence. Yeah, that's real convenient. But simply trust and one's honor, leading me to the topic of Sister Tajida's L's, I don't know who that is, public attempts to humiliate my consort. I don't know who she is. I don't care who she is. And our family publicly on social media. See attached. I never clicked on the attached. May I remind the organization that the acts committed by Sister Tajida L, I don't know who that is, violates Act 3 of the Moorish American Divine Constitution, which states that no citizen Moor is to put in danger or falsely accuse his brother or sister, you're not my brother nor my sister, on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Right. Nice adjustments and interpretations you inserted up in there. Furthermore, I'd like to highlight Mercy Charities website donor privacy policy, stating that, quote, any information gathered by Mercy Charities will be kept strictly confidential. The type of unfounded allegation Tajida, I don't know who that is, propagated is deplorable and creates friction amongst Mercy's efforts to promote Moorish unity. How do you know that? You've never done anything for Mercy except what I'll be getting into. Attached to this correspondence are the conversations between my consort and Tajida, I don't know who that is, pertaining the matter. I'm just reading what's here. As a representative of Mercy Charities, Sister Tajida, I don't know who that is, should be mindful of what she does as one who is entrusted with Moor's private information. If she cannot control her emotions, the organization should reconsider her position with the handling of such sensitive information. Respectfully presented, Jamil Rasul Bey. All right, so there you go. That's what inspired this. So as usual, let's begin with some definitions so that we're all operating off the same meaning of a word from a reputable scholarly source, preferably print. We do this so as not to make ourselves look foolish, embarrassing our people by rehashing in living colors prison scholar skits like Jamil did here. Google Oswald Bates if you don't know what I'm talking about. All right, definitions before I present my response to that dribble. All right, so the first definition, again, this is contract. All right, I'm not going to give you all yet another lesson about how contracts work. You can Google Moorish and contracts. A ton of stuff that is probably very, very good will come up. So I'm gonna try to keep this as short as possible. If you want to go in further, here go the definitions on the screen. You can pause and read if you like. I might read all of it, but I might be just skimmed so I can just get through this and not waste people's time by telling them stuff that as Moors, especially considering what we're trying to do in this mission, should know how to do. And you should have your dictionary for use, not just display. Anyway, first definition, contract. A promissory agree. The books I'll be using before I begin are Black's Law, 4th edition. All right. New American Dictionary of the English Language, I think. And Webster's Unabridged Dictionary of the English Language. Okay. So this is from Black's Law. Contract. A promissory agreement between two or more persons that creates, modifies, or destroys a legal relation. And then it gives the citation. An agreement upon sufficient consideration to do or not to do a particular thing, and it provides the citation. An agreement between two or more parties, preliminary step in making of which is offered by one and acceptance by another, in which minds of parties meet and concur in understanding of terms. I like that meet part, Like you were there. It says you were there. It implies you were there. All right. So moving on to the different kinds. Wait, no. Let me get this one. It says it is agreement creating obligation in which there must be competent parties, subject matter, legal consideration, mutuality of agreement, and mutuality of obligation. An agreement must not be so vague or uncertain as terms are not ascertainable. So I'm going to post the exact email that was sent, and the public can see for themselves if this is in any way convoluted, complicated, or trying to get you somehow. It's very simple. This is not a loan. It is a sue. It was a collection taken up by people that did not include y'all, but we helped you anyway, so just call it oops, baby, So anyway, moving on to the different kinds of contracts. But before I do, that competent part, that really sticks out, right? That really sticks out. Anyway, consensual and real. This is still contracts under contracts in Black's Law, 4th edition. Consensual and real contracts. Consensual contracts are such as are founded upon and completed by the mere agreement of the contracting parties without any external formality or symbolic act to fix the obligation. Okay? Real contracts are those in which it is necessary that there be something more than mere consent, such as a loan of money, deposit or pledge, deposit, those things that can be reverse searched and you can find out who owns them, who owns the account that it was deposited into, which from their nature require a delivery of a thing. And that's consensual versus real. This was a real contract, right? There was an actual agreement, an acceptance of the agreement, and then a transference or conveyance of stuff. All right, next definition, still under contracts in the Black's Law, 4th edition. Express and implied. An express contract is an actual agreement of the parties, the terms of which are openly uttered or declared at the time of making it, not later, 2 years down the line, really, being stated in distinct and explicit language, either orally or in writing. And then it follows with the citation. An implied contract is one not created or evidenced by the explicit agreement of the parties. You mean like an email? But inferred by the law as a matter of reason and justice from their acts or conduct, the circumstances surrounding the transaction making it reasonable or even necessary assumption that a contract existed between them by tacit understanding. So anybody with half a brain would know what this is. All right. But I guess we're not dealing with folks with half a brain. Still continuing under contracts, right? Joint and several. A joint contract is one made by two or more promisors who are jointly bound to fulfill its obligations, or made to two or more promisees who are jointly entitled to require performance of the same. These people, a contract may be several as to any one of the several promisors or promisees if he has a legal right, either from the terms of the agreement or the nature of the undertaking, to enforce his individual interests separately from the other parties. Now, Ashi Lukimi Bay is the promisee, or the promisor, okay? She's the promisor. She owes. She's the one that promised to pay us back. I don't care who does it, or we don't care who does it. As long as it gets done, we don't care, right? The promisees, that we part, is mercy charities, because there's more that you cannot own. One person cannot own a charity, right? If you ask, maybe I'll break that down to you. It makes things very easy. Except, I can't come to court and get you myself. I got to send an attorney. But yeah, I'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, yeah, that's joint and several, right? And it goes on. Generally, all contracts are joint in the interest of the parties for whose benefit they are created is joint, and separate where that interest is separate. So the interest is in Mercy Charity getting their Susu money back so we can actually invest in some worthy mores. So I guess it's joint. Moving on to the next definition. All right, for those who might not know, The three major parts of a contract, because depending on what you're doing, it can have more parts, but the three basic most parts you cannot leave out are consideration, terms, and the parties. All right. So going to the next definition, consideration in the realm of contracts. Again, this is from Black's Law. Contracts consideration. The inducement to a contract, the cause, motive, price, or impelling influence which induces a contracting party to enter into a contract. The reason or material cause of a contract. Okay. Consideration, and then it has the citation. Consideration is not to be confounded with motive. Consideration means something which is of value in the eyes of the law, moving from the plaintiff either to the benefit of the plaintiff or to the detriment of the defendant. And it goes into a citation. So the act, or if it goes down, an act or forbearance or the promise thereof, which is offered by one party to an agreement and accepted by the other as an inducement to that other's act or promise. So as in, I promise to pay you back if you loan me money to get my man. I don't know what y'all are, so I'm not going to assume. I'm just going to say that you're man and you're woman, you know, because I'm not going to insult people who actually have a public ritual somewhere where they went through the trouble of consorting, whatever that is, right? So your man wasn't there. Anyway, so you promised to pay us back for this money that I don't care why you borrowed it or whatever, but you just need to pay it back or whatever. I'll get into why. It's like you can pay it back or not. I'll get into why. Parties. The persons who take part in the performance of any act or who are directly interested in any affair, contract, or conveyance, or those who are actively concerned in the prosecution and defense of any legal proceeding, and it provides the citation. In Roman civil law, the parties were designated as actor and res. In common law, they are called plaintiff and defendant. In real action, they are called demandant and tenant. In equity, complainant or plaintiff and defendant, and blah blah blah. It just keeps going on. All right, so those are the parties. Next definition: term. A word or phrase, an expression, particularly one which possesses a fixed and known meaning in some science, art, or profession. A fixed period, a determined or prescribed duration, and then it provides the citation. In civil law, a space of time granted to a debtor for discharging his obligation. Now, in this case, we're well aware that bail isn't released until the case is concluded. Okay? But when we don't hear anything, we have to say something, right? With no update comes a notice, aka a reminder that we still know the debt is out there because you're not saying anything, right? Speaking of debts, next definition. Okay, debt. And this is from Webster's Unabridged. I had taken the one from my Black's Law, but it was just talking about a whole bunch of ways to sue somebody for this. But let's just put a tack in that. But debt defined by Webster's Unabridged. Debt, not going to go through the etymology. First definition, that which is due from one person to another or others, whether goods, money, or services, something owed. Number 2, an obligation or liability to pay or return something. Definition 3, the condition of being under obligation to pay money to or perform services for another, as in, I am in his debt or their debt, because this is to Mercy Charities. I'll get into that in a second. Fourth definition, neglect. Fourth definition of debt, neglected moral duty, sin, trespass. Forgive us our debts. It's not mine. I can't forgive it. That's the problem. I would if I could, but we can't. I'll get into why, right? In action for the recovery of a specified sum of money alleged to be due. Bonded debt, debt of honor. Well, we don't even need to go into that, do we? And it keeps going into different kinds of debt. So the next definition for that, I decided to go ahead and just cover debtor, right? Because this dude seems to be confused as to what's going on. And I'll read my response in a minute, but I wanted to, of course, use the definitions that I'm operating off of I looked up first. I'm not just making stuff up in my crazy head. All right. So according to Webster's, debtor is one who owes goods, money, or services to another. One is who is in debt opposed to a creditor. Right. And then debtee and debtor from Black's Law. Like I said, debt, that went into a whole bunch of stuff. But debtee is a person to whom a debt is due. This person, air quotes, is Mercy Charities, okay? Not Tahita Nagiola. And let's see, a debtee is a creditor. Let's see, it goes into a citation. And then debtor, since you seem to be confused, one who owes a debt, one who may be compelled to pay a claim of demand. How do you compel somebody? Anybody liable on a claim, whether due or becomes due. And and it goes on. Next definition, referring back to the email I was assaulted with, imposed upon, how he said we gotta keep our donors' privacy. Yes, we certainly do. I wrote that myself with my own little hands. How you give us money, and I don't care if it's a penny. You donate a penny, you get total privacy if you request it. So, but this guy seems to be confused as to the difference between a donor and a debtor. And that was actually what I first responded to this letter with. I said, you're not donors. I don't have to protect your privacy. You're debtors. What are you missing? Oh, that's right. You weren't there. That's why you don't know what's going on. Anyway, so donate. Let's go over the definitions because he seems to be a little lost, right? Donate. From Webster's Unabridged Dictionary, because it wasn't in the Black's Law. Donate, right? It goes into the etymology. To give, to present, to contribute, to bestow as a gift, especially to some philanthropic or religious cause. Okay? Donation, a giving. First, the definition, the act of donating, a granting. Second one, that which is given, bestowed, or donated, a gift or grant as to a charitable organization. Okay. Third one, in law, the act or contract by which a thing or the use of it is transferred to a person or corporation as a free gift. Also, the thing also transferred. Okay. Donation party. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Going into some, and it gives some synonyms. Okay. And that leads into donator, okay? The donor, right? Here's the problem with that. I was never given, or Mercy Charities was never giving notice that your piddly cash apps at $1 or $2 here, $2 there, whatever you could like scrape together. We were under the impression that that was to pay off your debt. If you want that converted to a donation, right? Which will take your balance back, or your balance due back to the whole thing rather than what, the 748 that's still remaining out of the 40 you paid off, right? Oh my God, what a joke. You know, if you want to convert those into donations, then we can protect your privacy. But until then, you're not a donor, you're a debtor. Okay, so now that we've covered definitions, you know, and I made sure I covered my definition so I could present an educated response so I don't look the way this guy is looking to me right now. So, like I said, I had responded with just, you're not debtors, you're not donors, you're debtors. The end. And that was the whole letter, right? And then I'm just like, a couple days passed by, I'm like, I think I better like put something in for real to let them know, don't play with me. That kind of, it's not a threat. I'm busy. So I'm not trying to go back and forth with folks. I just want it to die right now. That kind of thing. So here's the response. The letter is titled Attempted Recontracting Rejection. Right? It's from Mercy Charities, copied to a gang of folks. So we have tons of witnesses. So just as a reminder, so there's no confusion and you don't have the mistaken impression that you are recontracting a contract you are not party to. This is addressed to Jamil. You were just the unfortunate reason for it. Anyone with any sort of familiarity with contracting law knows that when two parties enter into an agreement, a third, uninvolved party, though he may be the reason for the agreement, does not get to step in and recontract without the consent of both parties, or all parties if it's more than two. All right. I've consulted with legal counsel, copied on this email, as we make no privacy provisions for our debtors to ensure I'm not operating off my own emotion or desperation. Wherefore, Mercy Charities does not consent to this third-party intrusion and attempt to recontract. Okay? Your behavior is exactly why Mercy Charities has stopped assisting individual Moors. We really wish we hadn't helped any of the rise of the Moors. Deadbeat fits better. The prophet was absolutely right in saying that he would be surprised if a Moor would do right. We really don't care who pays the debt that your woman came to us for, not the other way around, and requested on your behalf because apparently no one else wanted to help you, and now I see why. We weren't, I'm gonna check that. Like I said earlier, it was like a $5,000 bond, and Mercy Charities kicked in like the last 753. All right. I only know the number because these people, whatever. I do the books, so numbers stick. Anyway, continuing on. You weren't there when she asked for the loaned funds, when she accepted the terms of the agreement, nor were you there when the loan was sent to her bank account, not yours. It's still incumbent upon her to repay because that's who we contracted with. Just pay the debt and let's leave it at that, because it's coming off like you're trying to get out of something. As stated on the notice we had to send to your woman last year due to non-payment, Mercy Charities has to send out notices for compliance reasons. So until the debt your woman incurred on your behalf has been fully repaid, she'll continue to receive notices of the outstanding balance. For the record, to date, the $753 borrowed by your woman on September 6, 2022, as of March 2024, $22 has been paid back, leaving a balance of $731. That's incorrect. I'm sorry, it wasn't 22. My fault. I was looking at some old papers. It's 40. My bad. Anyway, when responsible people don't like being bothered with their responsibilities, they handle their business so everyone can move on with their lives. Insofar as your demand for Mercy Charities to remain mute on this topic, we'll instead be taking this opportunity to use it as a teaching moment for the other Moors who may think they know Jill, but don't know Jack. All right. And then I sent them the post like, yeah, here we go. I work fast. Now everyone will know what I'd honestly written off as a deadbeating. Cordially, Sister T. Najiula L. Okay? And like I said, that part about not needing assistance, right? I was incorrect. Mercy Charities, for the record, Mercy Charities assisted with the last 753 of the 5K plus ransom. So I'm guessing a whole bunch of people are feeling pretty salty right now. But, at least the ones saying that more stuff don't work, they got something out of this. They got a bit more ammo because these rising ones, are still fighting these charges. Not to go too deep into it, but I'm only mentioning it because we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary. Sure are. Where a Grand Sheik I was working with, he got hemmed up on some dumb stuff that was unconstitutional. And because of how he had his network hooked up, he was out in 40 days. How long did it take y'all to get out? Anyway, y'all making us look bad. Great job, guys. All right. And they both responded, right? I'm glad they did because now I got proof. I didn't bother to open either email as I didn't feel like having my IQ cut in half by reading their dribble. But on the bright side, their pitiful repayments over the past 2 years of the grand total of $40. And it's like, they didn't need to pay anything. Just let us know, hey, this still going on. All right, let us know. Keep us informed, right? Because if you don't say something, we got to say something, right? And the letter accepting the debt on his behalf. I'm sorry, let me start over. But yeah. So $40 in the last 2 years. This letter about accepting the debt on his woman's behalf, these 2 responses, these are enough to write up my own complaint, should I so choose as a trained paralegal, and have it presented by, a fresh young bar recipient who trying to pad his curriculum vitae with a couple of victories, right? So why not? Here, take this. This ain't my brother, right? I know what the prophet said. Because what this dude needs right now, right? Exactly what he needs right now is another case, right? Actually, this would be on his woman because he was sitting in a cage when this deal was struck. Genius. This poor woman. I'm not calling her a sister because I'm sick of these women caping for these dudes. And this is why we have more old boys than real men in our nation. For real. You ever know somebody who, instead of just leaving well enough alone, was already leaving them alone? Because this is really kicked off because I asked you 2 times in 2 years, don't forget about us. I asked you 2 times in 2 years, but instead he makes it worse, right? What's really messed up, if this guy was a real man who knew how to operate outside of entry-level food service or janitorial, he would have simply put in a request, just ask to have these terms switched from his woman, I'm not calling her a consort, right, to himself. That's commendable. Instead, he exposed himself, to me, I kind of unfortunately dealt with these guys, not laughing at them, but it's just like, wow. History don't repeat, but it sure do rhyme. He looking like these dudes that I've known who had, they were forced to snuggle up to a gorilla man named Tiny, and now they trying to flex some muscles they don't possess. Anyway, this was an expressed contract, and this plebe who wasn't party to it is now trying to convert it to an implied contract because there are no debts. Okay, swap out the parties and attempt to convert this Susu loan into a gift in an attempt to slither out the debt this poor woman incurred on his behalf. But I'm not worried about it. Mercy Charities ain't. I guess, Mercy Charities can be concerned. I'm not going to say we don't care because this is messed up. But not worried about getting the funds back. As a single donor, dropped $25K on Mercy a year after we regrettably helped Rise of the Mediocre. They were wondering what's going on a year later and like, dang, here's this. I didn't know it was going to be multiple thises. That total $25K, right? You can see all the details on the website under public disclosure, except for their name, because we protect our donors' privacy, not debtors, right? Donated under the condition that we say something about this, because it's messed up how Moors keep getting done wrong because they keep getting taken by folks who keep getting away with taking people. All right. So I'm like, okay, so I put everything together and then I'm like, nah, because it will reflect on these women who got dragged into these goofies, avoidable drama. Right? Or even if it's not avoidable, it's get outable. Again, let me refer back to the sheik who I was working with, who, because of how he set up his stuff, right? He was out in 40 days, not a year and some months. Ugh, shameful. But anyway, fast forward another year, right? After this donor dropped $25K and say something, I'm like, nah, that's going to mess up the women. Fast forward another year and we see the damage one nigga can do. So now it's game on, right? So, specifically, Jamil seems to be operating under the delusion that paying back a debt can be converted to a donation just by wishing it to be so. At least he's correct in the you wish part. As mentioned in the agreement with Jamil's woman, not insulting those who actually went through a ritual to become consorts, and as far as I know, I don't know what y'all got going on. Everybody else, I've seen wedding pictures, them in front of sheiks, and witnesses, whatever. This was not Mercy Charities money. This was not Tahita Najiola Els' money, okay? These were funds donated by Moors, mostly women, who also made the mistake of thinking a Moor would do right. But our donors will be just fine, as Allah smiles on those who give out of what they have been provided, and I am a strong proponent of reciprocity. And then there's how Allah deals with the mischief makers and those who don't honor their obligations. How sad that these women, despite having a male in their lives, I grew up with a man who taught me I saw him protect his interests, right? So I know when I'm dealing with males. And despite this dude and this woman's network and friend circle, they still had to come to us for help, right? From another woman they didn't know. I'm getting sick of this. All these dudes are just sucking off these women. It's like, dude, when does it stop? This, again, I guess I kind of alluded to it, but this was back before we had an actual board formed, right? So when I say they had to come to another woman, it was just me making the decision with input and advice from Grand Sheik Cujo El, right? They contacted me, right? And I took it to our quote-unquote board, which was me and Cujo, who in turn handled the issues created by these worthless male in these poor women's lives. I'm going to safely assume that these women had to come to us because their own networks knew their assistance would be wasted on these jokers, right? What have Rise of the Second Rate done since being saved from the dismal crypts? They shit on Moors, they suggest we follow Arabs, and they try to slither out of their debts. I'm not saying all, I'm specifically speaking on Jamil in this case, right? But it's all good, and I'm not the only one they, specifically Jamil, have to worry about. All right? But that being said, Allah willing, this will serve as a lesson as why you don't bite the hand that freed you. As it's looking mighty karmic how their cases are now going, right? Speaking of how it's going, like I said, I wasn't checking for these dudes, so I'm gonna just put this up here real quick. I just Googled it. Like, let me just see what I find when I Google it. So I found this post on somebody's channel that I'm not gonna mention because I don't want them to get no clicks or views because they suck. And but yeah, this is from a few months ago. So somebody put they're all out Islam, referring to the rise of the deadbeats, right? And somebody responded, and I'm guessing this is a European, and you know how they love to be up in people's business. They said, so since this guy said they're all out, this guy responded, this is not factually correct. All spent between 4 and 14 months in jail prior to admitting their true names, promising to abide by their harsh terms of bail, agreeing not to speak with one another, nor possess firearms, promising to return for trial, and posting bail. Subsequently, 2 have pled guilty and were sentenced to terms of 2 years and 3 years, with extensive probation subsequent to their prison terms. Quinn jumped bail and I believe is still incarcerated awaiting trial. The others are still in the final stages of trial. So your statement is misleading at best, and even then, only 7 or 10 of 10 cases. In 3 of 10 cases, your statement is completely incorrect. Islam. Oh, I guess that's a brother. I don't know. He said Islam, so it could be just a Muslim. So yeah, whether this is true or not, I can't say. I'm just leaving this here for your consideration. If you want to look it up, please feel free. Because like I said, I wasn't checking for these dudes. I haven't looked it up because I don't care. But if this is true, give it up to the colonists because they have well and good rendered these dudes as geldings. Look up geldings. There's your word for the day. And now you know why their militia is no more. Kind of clears up why the hate of Moorish science too. Because they can't figure out how to get it to work. Again, referring back to that sheik who took him 40 days. Or what doesn't want to work for them. Maybe that's what it is. This Moorish stuff work, it just don't want to work for you. Either way, if you find out anything, to add or subtract from what this guy said, feel free to share a link to the vid, article, etc. Please don't be coming to fight me. Don't come for me because I just reposted what somebody else reported. Islam. So to all those people out there, even individuals, let this be a testament as to why you keep your stacks stacked. So one can't hold their debts to you over your head. Even though I have this poor woman's banking information, and like I said, I can have a reversal performed during discovery should I choose to litigate this issue, wait for them to fail miserably at that suit as they're doing with their Massachusetts charges from, 2001? Then sell that debt to a collection agency and let them deal with this waste of time. But why bother, right? That this poor woman had to come to a stranger for help screams how well equipped this dude is insofar as providing, and I have no interest in or use for pocket lint. Because when you live in abundance and fear Allah, first, you don't have the issues of rise of the unexceptional. Second, you don't end up shackled to losers. And to that point, why are these women doing this? How many of the rise of the ramshackle are actually married or obligated to these poor women? I'm inclined to think not a single one, and that this consort thing is being used euphemistically as a nicer way of saying shacking up. And third, when you are sincere in your movements, unlike these ones, Allah provides for you abundantly. So if trouble does arise, you don't have to call on Instagram to save you, again referring to that Grand Sheik who got caught up on some dumb charges 40 days in the dismal crypts. Testify. Obviously, we're not dealing with intelligent people in this matter. But then again, specifically Jamil threatened to so-called dead me on an Instagram live the first time I asked him when the funds will be forthcoming so we could assist others. That's what led. So, right, instead of saying, are we still dealing with the case? No, this is what led to the first notice of obligation we had to send, that we shouldn't have had to send. Fast forward another year, and these two adults have only been able to scrape together $40 in a total of 2 years, prompting me to send out the second notice, as we're required to do for compliance with our tax status. All right. It also serves as a paper trail for use in litigation if that becomes necessary. Something you would know if you worked outside of entry-level food service or janitorial. So, in response to this second notice that was sent to them, then immediately be forgotten because I have better things to do than to chase down people who owe other people money. Jamil's bail was 100%, or at least Califa Mercy Charities part was 100% donation from everyone but me personally, because I never heard of this dude until his woman contacted me, right? So he sends an email, again, operating off a delusion that now he's the contractee, which would have been fine if you had just asked instead of, here's what's about to happen. Yep, jailbird. Yep, I know it when I see it, right? No offense to jailbirds, because not all of them act like that. This is a fine example of thinking you know it all when you don't know shit. When parties enter into a contract, all parties have to agree to any changes. All the original parties. Keep in mind, none of this conversation had to happen. This entire situation could have continued with his pitiful payments of $1 to $2 whenever he could make such a huge sacrifice. The entire situation would be resolved if this dude would just man up and pay for the money his woman had to hit up strangers for because he left her with 4 children and no means to help him, her, or them. I feel so bad for her. Like, this is what you lowered yourself to ask a stranger for help with. Me personally, I never wished we'd helped any of y'all, and Allah willing, you will be receiving your just rewards in the very near future. And considering how your cases are going, very near future. Either way, Mercy Charities is expanding by leaps and bounds, and we've invested some of the funds in various financial instruments which have been replaced what we regrettably loaned to all of you all, right? We've even found a way to turn the mistake of helping you frauds to our advantage. In fact, let's discuss one of those moves right now. Ruth's Covenant is one of the initiatives currently being worked on by Mercy Charities. In short, Ruth's Covenant was inspired by the troubles brought onto single mothers by the males they've privileged to be in their lives. Rather than help these women, these dudes created more issues, making their problems her problems, in addition to the babies he's already saddled her with. In addition to foster care, transitional assistance for children aging out of the foster care system, and a home for elderly mothers, one aspect of Ruth's Covenant is to dedicate funds the mother would have used to save some worthless degenerate to leave said degenerate. These women need to save themselves and their children from these fools. Let his troubles be his troubles, because our most burdened sisters have for too long taken on the problems these males have brought on themselves and need mommy to save them from. It's one thing if trouble comes to you, it's another when you go seeking it. So, gratitude to Rise of the Deadbeats for inspiring this movement to save Moorish mothers from the males that made them mothers while being as useful as one of her children. God Allah. In conclusion, to all the Moors who unfortunately donated to Rise of the Deadbeats, Jamil at least is trying to get out of it. Just remember this when they end up right back where they came from, and this isn't a wish for their misfortune. It's a recognition of what happens when you're a nigger in dirty Moorskin. Nigger does not imply black people. It implies a person of low moral standards and little intelligence. All right. I looked up the time for these charges. that y'all haven't managed to shake in going on, what, 3 years? And turns out they got most of their time out of y'all already, right? So there's that part. Hilarious. So for our next presentation, I'll be going over the house of Conald L., another one of the Rise of the Deadbeats, and how this dude had his pregnant girlfriend, Danielle Medina, their 2 children, and 2 cats in eviction mode from an extended stay hotel. Again, this woman had to reach out to another woman to get everyone's fat out the fire. And again, neither their friends nor their family would help them. They said, hey, if y'all can get here, and I'll be sharing all those, you know. She stiffed us too, so she can get it too. So until next time, you know, I'll have those receipts ready. And, you know, next time might not be actually for a couple of weeks, as I have a multitude of irons in the proverbial fire. Again, I got better things to do than to be chasing out the people who owe other people money. Besides those people that are owed, they gonna be fine, because Allah takes care of the sincere, but, you know, he takes care of the wicked too. Islamism. Thank you for joining us in this exploration. Together, in the spirit of knowledge and understanding, we forge a future that respects and celebrates our rich heritage and the boundless potential of our united community. Be sure to share this video, engage with us in the comments, and join us as we continue to uncover and celebrate our rich heritage. Visit CalifaMedia.com for more insights, discussions, and revelations. Together, let's embrace our past to shape our future. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and above all, keep embracing your true identity. Thank you for watching, and remember, your identity is your legacy. Islam, peace, and bye-bye, y'all.